Do you know what happens when you leave your PC on the floor? Never clean it, and then forget about it for a few years. So stay tuned, and you'll be able to protect yourself against these issues. And let's just say that you don't want to find out the hard way. Today we're going to talk about how dust causes both static electricity and short circuits. Now, dry dust itself isn't usually very good at conducting electricity because it's made of tiny solid particles that do uncarry electric charges easily. Well, when dust accumulates in your computer, it can actually trap heat and prevent it from escaping properly. Well, first, fans and heat sinks are notorious for gathering dust. Dust clogs the airways of a fan or heat sink. It reduces their cooling efficiency. This forces the computer's temperature sensors to work harder to maintain safe operating temperatures. As you type away, dust and debris can accumulate in the gaps between the keys and in the vents. This buildup can lead to heat buildup in the system, causing the laptop to overheat, reduce performance, and even behave erratically. To prevent static buildup, consider using anti-static brushes or vacuum attachments designed for electronics. Before handling any components, make sure to touch a grounded metal object or wear an anti-static wrist strap. Keep your PC in a room with an air filter or low-dust environment to minimize the amount of dust that accumulates. Consider using dust filters on PC intake fans. These filters are washable or replaceable and can significantly reduce the amount of dust entering your system. This will discharge any static electricity you might have on your body, protecting your components from potential damage. These tools help in removing dust while minimizing the risk of static discharge. Avoid using household vacuums, as many of them generate static electricity. Just imagine trying to work on an important project, and every time you press a key, weird stuff starts happening on the screen. As a result, the CPU might throttle its performance or shut off to prevent overheating. Most of them have built-in filters to catch larger particles, but that doesn't mean that you should never clean them. Use tools like Hoi Monitor, Open Hardware Monitor, or Speed Fan to keep track of your computer's temperature. If temps are creeping up, it's time to check for dust buildup in cooling components. In fact, it's important to clean the dust out of your computer every few months. By following these tips, you'll ensure that your devices stay safe and continue to function flawlessly for years to come. If you live in a dusty environment, you may need to do it more often. Open the case or access panel and shine a flashlight inside. Please share it with your friends who have dusty old PCs that might need some TLC. And if you're interested in learning more about computer maintenance, subscribe to our channel for more tech tips. Thanks for watching, and happy dusting. Look closely at the fans, heat sinks, and PCB surfaces. If you see any gray fuzz or clumps, it's time for a cleaning. And if you haven't opened your computer before, it's a good idea to learn how to do it safely. You should know how to open the case and remove the side panels. This way, if you notice that there's a lot of dust, you can take action before it becomes a big problem. Additionally, dust buildup in fans can cause them to seize up, leading to catastrophic damage. Try to find a nice quiet room with minimum distractions so you can focus on the task at hand. Trust me, it makes everything a lot easier. Next, let's get down to business. Blow out any visible dust using compressed air. Compressed air is your best friend when dealing with dust. It quickly and efficiently removes dust without damaging delicate components. Make sure to use cans specifically labeled as safe for electronics or invest in a compressor with an air filter for a more eco-friendly option. Start by turning off and unplugging your computer, and use the compressed air to blow out dust from fans, heat sinks, motherboards, and PSU vents. Remember to hold the fan blades still while cleaning to avoid damaging the bearings. As you blow out the dust, you will probably notice a big improvement in your computer's performance, and you'll feel a sense of accomplishment knowing that you've given it a fresh clean. Imagine a fan with a layer of dust so thick that it creates excessive friction, causing the motor to burn out. Not only would this damage the fan itself, but it would also prevent proper airflow within the computer, potentially causing other components to overheat. This problem becomes even more critical when it comes to CPUs, because they're incredibly sensitive to temperature. Even slight overheating can cause a decrease in performance, system instability, or permanent damage to the CPU. So this means that components like the CPU and other chips on the motherboard can overheat and slow down or shut off to prevent damage, which is called thermal throttling. Over time, this extra heat can also degrade the hardware and reduce its lifespan. However, here's the thing. The dust that you're probably imagining is actually just dead skin cells and other organic matter that starts to decay over time. They also have fans inside that can gather dust and cause overheating. When dust accumulates in these areas, it can cause poor contact between the components and the motherboard, resulting in system instability, random reboots, or even data corruption. Picture this. In the middle of an important task. When suddenly your computer shuts down or restarts on its own, not only is this incredibly frustrating, but it can also lead to lost productivity and even corrupted data. Imagine the chaos of realizing that hours of work have been wiped out due to a simple dust-related issue. In fact, the presence of dust inside a power supply can increase the risk of arcing, which is when electrical discharge occurs across a gap in the air. This effect is similar to the sparks you see during a lightning strike and can cause a fire hazard. If it happens inside your computer, so if you live in a humid place or have a really dusty computer, there's a chance that this organic material could end up absorbing enough moisture to start conducting electricity. Also, if the dust contains tiny amounts of metals or minerals, it might be naturally somewhat conductive already. Anyway, when this conductive dust lands on a circuit board, it can form bridges between connections that shouldn't be connected. So instead of jumping between components one at a time, it could short out two components that are supposed to be touching by creating its own little path between them. This kind of short circuit can mess up data, fry components, or even make your entire system crash. So here's the deal. We all know that dust is annoying and looks bad, but have you ever wondered why you shouldn't let it accumulate in your PC? In some cases, dust can actually attract and hold on to static electricity. Now, if you've ever worked on electronics and touched something metal inside the computer without grounding yourself, you've probably seen a little spark. That's static electricity discharging. So normally, this kind of static zap won't hurt anything. It can actually build up on the dust particles and get discharged onto sensitive components like the CPU, RAM, or GPU. This sudden burst of static electricity can damage these components and cause all sorts of issues like corrupted data, system crashes, and even fried hardware. It turns out that besides looking gross, letting dust build up in your rig can lead to some serious problems, including costly repairs or even having to buy a whole new computer. So first up, did you know that dust can actually become electrically conductive under certain circumstances? Also, dust doesn't always have to be wet to create problems. But wait, there's more. It gets even weirder, because ironically, dust can also act as an insulator too. How does that make sense? Okay, so where is dust most likely to build up in your computer? Second, think about power supplies. Those big, bulky things that convert AC power into DC power for all the components. Third, the RAM slots and PCIe connections can also trap dust. And finally, let's not forget about laptop vents and keyboards. Now, to be fair, modern computers are actually designed to handle a decent amount of dust. So now that you understand how dangerous dust can be, let me tell you how to fix it. But wait, there's more. Don't stop there. Next, let's talk about proper grounding. And here's another pro tip. Improve air filtration in your computer room. Next, don't forget to monitor internal temperatures. And if you want to inspect for dust issues, here's a quick test you can do. Power off and unplug your system. We hope you found this video helpful.